Imagine if you and me are part of a space mission to the International Space Station to probably fix a very important sensor, only to realize that we are short of a very critical component. What would we do next? Abort or wait for another space mission? Remember, even the cheapest space mission from SpaceX, that is from Tesla, would cost us close to $100 million. So what alternatives do we have? Luckily, today there exists a technology that allows us to manufacture things on demand at any place using the printing technology. So let's deep dive and listen in to understand how printing as a technology is revolutionizing the world around us. Hi friends, welcome to my channel Alchemy of Thought, and I'm your host Dr. Manohar Rao. I'm here to simplify science and technology and its business impact in our daily life. In this episode, we will see how printing as a technology evolved to give rise to two different domains, printed electronics and 3D printing as a manufacturing. We'll listen to two experts, Professor Santosh and Dr. Arun, on their opinion on the two fields. There are three important drivers for any technological innovation. Firstly, to solve a customer pain point or a customer problem. Secondly, they arise from a fantasy of a sci-fi movie. Take for example any Hollywood movies such as the Star Wars, the Mission Impossible, the Matrix, or even as latest as Iron Man. Most of the tech gadgets that were shown in these movies looked quite futuristic, but today they exist as a reality. For example, be it the laser weapons from the Star Wars or the concept of Google Lens or 3D printing from Mission Impossible, even the virtual reality headset from the Matrix series, the voice recognized artificial intelligence system, the Jarvis from Iron Man. Each of these technical gadgets today are commercially available. The third driver comes from military or strategic warfare, basically either to start a war or stop a war. Strange as it might sound, but today the most of the day-to-day household items that we use actually are an outcome or a byproduct of military innovations. For example, be it the walkie-talkies or the mobile phones or the microwave oven that has come from the radars, even as simple as the duct tape or even the navigation apps that we used on our phone or in the car has come from GPS satellites. And finally, the all-pervasive internet. Each of these innovations are actually an outcome of military inventions or discoveries. Whatever be the driver for technological innovation, it is basically large-scale manufacturing that makes it accessible for every individual to get hold of these products. Large-scale manufacturing actually has its genesis in the industrial revolution that happened in the European continent in the 17th century. It first began by impacting the textile industry, where till then all the textiles were actually handmade, now started to be getting replaced to be machine made. It took another 200 years before the concept of assembly line manufacturing, which was pioneered by Henry Ford, changed the landscape of automotive industry, thereby making cars a household items first in the US and then in the European continent. Finally, 50 years hence, a Japanese concept of Kaizen, which means continuous improvement, gave rise to something called as lean manufacturing. It means basically to identify and eliminate any waste during the manufacturing process. And it was this concept of lean manufacturing that made a large-scale manufacturing a profitable venture for the companies. And finally, the introduction of robotics, so that any activities that was repeatable could be replaced by robots than humans, which resulted in high volume of production and more importantly less error-free products that came out. It is this large-scale manufacturing that is today responsible for the food or the medicine that we eat, or the FMCG products that we consume in our daily life, and finally all the electrical or electronic gadgets that we use. When you think of printing as a technology, what comes to our mind is the books, the magazines or the newspaper that we read. In fact, since the first Bible that was printed in Latin in Germany in 1455, printing as a technology evolved a lot. Today, printing has become faster, more durable. Today, you can print in different colors, and more importantly, you can print not only on paper but plastics, textiles, fabrics, metal, ceramics, and even a birthday cake. What you require for printing is substrate, which is paper on most of the time, and ink. Now imagine if you replace this standard ink with ink which has electrical properties. Using the same inkjet or the desktop printer you have at your home, instead of printing a conventional book report, what you can do is now print electrical circuits, and this is what is referred to as printed electronics. This was possible due to a discovery of certain materials called as conducting polymers by 3 scientists who were later awarded the Nobel Prize. I also had a good opportunity of briefly engaging and interacting with all of them. In order to understand what printed electronics is all about, let's listen into an expert, Professor Santosh from IIT Hyderabad, on what he has to say what printed electronics is and what are its possible applications. Professor Santosh.
A new era of wearable, bendable, smart, functional electronic devices have begun. With the advent of printed electronic technology, it is now possible to produce smart devices on flexible substrates like polymers, paper, textiles, and so on. Devices like solar cells, sensors, transistors, light emitting diodes, batteries can now be produced on mass scale using various printing protocols. Let's talk a little bit more on printed organic solar cells. It is important to note that an organic solar cell is very different to the way a conventional solar cell works. Furthermore, in contrast to the way silicon solar cell is fabricated, which uses high temperature, high vacuum techniques, which makes the fabrication very expensive, organic solar cell technology uses low temperature, solution processable protocols that significantly reduces the cost. Also, the low temperature protocols allows one to fabricate these on plastic substrates to make flexible solar cells. Now let's talk about the challenges. The first is the material aspect. As we all know, to print you need to make good inks, and the quality of the material, the quality of the organic material, the quality of the solution that makes the ink, the solvent that makes the ink, the homogeneity, the viscosity, all these things have to be tuned and optimized for the best possible deposition scheme. The second aspect is possibility of repeatability. How good is it when it comes to repeatability? Are we able to get the same quality of printing roll to roll, batches to batches, and so on? My group at IIT Hyderabad concentrates on understanding the properties of these organic molecules. We do a lot of characterization. As you see in this lab, we work on optical characterization of organic materials, be it polymers, molecules, or dyes. The goal of our group is to make or contribute towards development of low-cost, eco-friendly organic solar cells. The field of organic solar cell technology is now progressing steadily towards printed organic solar cell technology, because that's where the commercial viability comes into picture.
Clearly, we see printed electronics in form of printed organic solar cells has a huge capability to supplement the growing energy demand of the world along with the other conventional renewable sources. Apart from the fact that the printed electronics is possible to be done on flexible substrate, there is a high probability of new, innovative, flexible and bendable devices that might be possible in the nearby future. Now, if we replace the standard ink by ink that solidifies on heating, what you can do with the same printer is print 3D objects. This is what is referred to as 3D printing. 3D printers have late 1980s, but due to the limitation of the materials that could be printed and the software capability to design objects, there was not much fascinating research or activities that happened with 3D printers. It was only in the late or early 2010 when the design went off patent and there was a huge innovation or development in the software capability that people could use 3D printers to design intricate objects, first with plastics and then later with metals. This is what is referred to as 3D printing. In order to understand what 3D printing is all about, let's listen into another expert, Dr. Arun, who is a co-founder and a director of a company, Revron, on what 3D printing is all about. Dr. Arun.
Printing is a process where you reproduce a text or an image onto a substrate or a template. And one of the most primitive way of printing is using stamp. So in a stamp you can see that you will have a text or an image, and you dip it in a ink and you transfer the text and image onto a substrate, or you can say onto a piece of paper, right? So this is the most fundamental form of printing. So what is 3D printing? 3D printing is a form of manufacturing where physical objects that are created from a three-dimensional format. So there are different types of polymers which are used in 3D printing. Very basic is, say, polyethylene. So what they use is they use this strand of wire, they melt it and then they transfer out to a small substrate, okay, or a plate. They'll transfer it. Once it is heated, it will melt and they'll print it on a sheet of plastic or in some object. So when you multiply this printing process many times over an underlying layer, so you can actually form a 3D object. In the all upcoming technologies, what is there, we mainly use metal in a powder form, right? And you subject it to laser light. So this laser, which is very intense, it will fall on this substrate which is having powder, and you create the pattern on that. So what happens, this laser will melt that powder, and it will, once it is melted, it will fuse with other molten metal. So by doing layers and layers of this process, where layers of powder is melted, which is getting fused with its surrounding molten metal, so you're actually welding, creating those patterns. This molten block which is there, it will solidify to get a desired patterns, right? It is very interesting because if you see conventionally, they use subtractive technologies to get a 3D object, right? So they use lathe, they use cutting tools, milling, drilling, welding. So all these are conventional way of making some 3D object. But by using this metal powder, which is additive manufacturing, in other cases you are removing metal from a solid block, right? That is subtractive technology. In this, you are using powder and you are combining them to form a 3D object. So this is additive manufacturing. So here the objects are created by laying down or building thin layers, right? Building thin layers upon one another. This technology is additive manufacturing. There are several advantages of such kind of process. First is it is very less time consuming, so that's why it's very widely used in rapid prototyping. Why rapid prototyping? So if you're trying to develop some product, right, you want to understand whether it will work the way you think it works. So instead of investing a lot of money in conventional process, you can use rapid prototyping. So you can quickly get this product out, check for its functionalities, its tolerance and fitting, and then if needed you can change how you want to make this better prototype, right? For example, you can see this cuboid with very intricate structures, right? So this cuboid cannot be done with a subtractive technology, but this can be done with additive manufacturing. Enormous. For example, if you use a solid block of this, right, of similar solid block, and you replace with this kind of structure, there is drastic reduction in its weight. So this is a perfect example of lightweighting, right? So you can actually use this, and you can also see because of this intricate structure, it has a very high surface area, right? Because of this very high surface area, it is a perfect way for heat exchangers. So there is very good transfer of heat between the structure when this is exposed to any other fluid. So this kind of manufacturing is widely used in heat exchangers. So this is a titanium based alloy. So this cannot be done with subtractive manufacturing, but the same thing can be done with additive manufacturing. So this is lightweight, high melting point because it is titanium alloy, and you have a lot of features all integrated in one substrate. So there is imagination is the limit in 3D printing, and it is very good for rapid prototyping.
Clearly, 3D printing is at the forefront of innovation purely because of the fact that you can design and manufacture intricate objects, because of which today GE is in a position to redesign their jet engines, and they actually 3D manufacture their jet engines. Boeing, on the other hand, for the Dreamliner 747 have redesigned their entire cabin using 3D manufacturing, as a result of which they are able to reduce its weight, which in turn has resulted in improved efficiency. Nike, on the other hand, actually had redesigned the sole of their very innovative shoe. Clearly, 3D printing is just not for the big corporates. Any organization which is into manufacturing can actually harness the power of 3D manufacturing. 3D manufacturing actually can speed up your cycle of innovation. Basically, any corporates or any organization can actually design their products beforehand, test for its integrity before they get into large scale manufacturing. As we all agree, the longevity of any product in the market depends upon the reliability of the supplies from its channel partners. That is where any organization, in order to minimize their risks, can actually 3D print all the critical component in-house, thereby reducing the cost of its manufacturing. Also, we all agree spare parts and inventories are a huge cost for any organization, and companies actually make maximum efforts to have maximum inventories all about everywhere. But it is also possible to 3D print all the spare parts and inventories as and when required, thereby reducing its cost of operation. Clearly, we can see 3D printing for any organization helps it to speeden up its innovation cycle, reduce its cost of manufacturing, as well as optimize its cost of operation by minimizing their inventories. So, 3D printing as a technology has a huge opportunity to disrupt a traditional manufacturing process. Even during the early days of COVID-19 pandemic, when there was an apparent shortage of ventilators all around, a lot of groups around the world actually 3D printed ventilators in order to supply to different hospitals. Clearly, we have seen 3D printing as a technology has a huge potential to disrupt and change the way we live a world ahead. Finally, imagine a situation where you're flying in an Airbus. The book that you read, to the chair that you sit in the cabin, to the engine flight, everything is actually being manufactured using the printing technology. And that's the power of 3D printing, where it can impact different industries all at the same time. Today, even on the International Space Station, there is a 3D printer already available to print things on demand as and when required. This is what I have, friends, for you in this episode. Until we meet next time, take care, stay safe, and adapt to the new normal. Thank you.